Hi guys, it's Han here. Today we are going to check out a 2024 Hyundai Kona Limited. Thanks for everyone's the assistance. Thanks for subscription, thumbs up, comment and forward. The subcompact SUV market is currently the fastest growing segment in the US automotive market, differentiating it from other traditional segments. There's no absolute sales leader in this market, and every manufacturer is heavily invested in it. Better known names in this segment such as Honda's HR-V, Subaru's Crosstrek, which are regulars at the top of this segment. Hyundai's Kona is an important player in this segment. First launched in the 2018 model. 2024 model is new second gen. The first gen Kona has many types of powertrains around the world. Gasoline, EV, hybrid. First up in the US market is this 2024 model gasoline model, and I'm sure there will be a wave of other power types coming soon. The current model comes in 4 base trims. 2 of them are equipped 2.0 engine and IVT transmission. Other 2 are equipped a turbocharged 6-liter engine with an 8-speed automatic transmission. There's also the N-Line series, which has a sportier look. So if we compare Kona's powertrains to the best-selling ones on the market today, compare the parameters, we can see the 2-liter Kona is a bit more modest, while the 1.6-liter turbocharged engine is a bit more aggressive. Its parameters are superior, and Kona in each class has both 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive products. In terms of suspension design, the front suspension is all McPherson. The rear suspension of the 2-wheel drive product is a torsion beam, but a multi-link in the 4-wheel drive product and the exterior dimensions, if we use the Kona's dimensions, to match the market's best-selling product, such as HR-V. The Kona's wheelbase is 0.2 inches longer than the HR-V's. The regular Kona is 8.5 inches shorter in length than HR-V. Height without luggage rack is identical for both. It's 0.5 narrower than the HR-V in width. Minimum ground clearance for Kona products is 6, 7, or 6, 9 for 2WD. AWD are 8.1 or 8.3. The Kona's curb weight ranges from 30.05 to 35.05 pounds. Fuel tank capacity for 2.0-liter is 12.4 gallons. For the turbo is 13.2 gallons under combined conditions. Fuel consumption for the 2.0-liter 2WD is 28 mpg. 4WD is 27 mpg. For the 2WD turbo is 28 mpg. 4WD is 26 mpg according to EPA. The one today is a 2024 Kona 1.6L Turbo AWD, and it's a limited, which is the top trim, with a 12.3-inch LCD dashboard, 12.3 center screen, with surround views, heated and ventilated front seats, and Bose stereo, 235/45/19 on 4 wheels. The engine, transmission, and assembly for this car were from the plants in South Korea. The last Kona, as we know, was quite a fancy design, so if we look at the Kona today, it's quite a fancy design, I'd say. How showstopper, the whole design. It's got the newest design styles of the Hyundai, like her brothers. I also see a lot of EV design in this car. It seems like Hyundai wanted to make it a sleeker, more youthful design. Let the pretty no longer be a barrier for choosing between gasoline and EV. Gasoline cars can also be very fashionable and young. The most memorable in front is the strip of top lamp, as we know, which has become the common design in 2024 model of Hyundai products, such as 2024 model Hyundai Sonata, which has a similar design on it. When lamps on, it's just a light bar, and when lamps off, it's the daytime lamps in 2 ends. Very bright in left and right ends, a little dimmer in the center. In fact, it's got the main lamps here, in this position, on both sides, a design that's been seen in previous generations. It's designed as a split headlight. This time it's more extreme, and as we've talked about before, there's a lot of cars from Hyundai and Kia. The rear light clusters are on the rear bumper, and I don't think that's acceptable to me. The bumper it's just for buffer collision. This time, as you can see, the design is even more brilliant as it puts the two main light clusters, even to the front two corners. The two most protruding corners, as you can see, the two most protruding corners in the front were easy to cuts and scrapes. Well, I can't say you're bad for putting the two light clusters in these positions, but I can say that I really understand this design. There's a rounded shape up front, and it's a very nice shape, and the most prominent part of the front, down the center, is the front camera, and below the traditional bumper position. It's a very complex design, both in its materials and shape, as you can see. From the side design, we can see that Hyundai is trying to be more stylish, more youthful. Overall, the car has a low front and high back design. On the doors, on the body, looks like the design lines are more complex. As you can see, there's a relatively straight waistline at the top. Underneath, there's a cutout in the door panels, which is a popular look in the automotive world right now. This part is also quite colorful, like a traditional SUV. The A-pillar, B-pillar, C-pillar, and D-pillar design should be more clear. Well, this car, it's quite different. The top edge and bottom edge of the window are intersected in here. The C and D pillar are integrated, and I think it's quite beautiful and stylish. Also in chrome strip here. Out the lower edge of the window, an upturned shape at the rear end. And it ended up being the top edge of the back window, which is a more elegant. Even more of an exaggeration is the four-wheel arches, including the circle under the skirt, are all very chunky black plastic, adding more sporty character. We've talked about it before, in Hyundai company now. The Hyundai brand seems to be in charge of being pretty. On the side, you can see that there are both chrome and black plastic. The black is even more. As we see, this 4WD is a little bit higher than a 2WD model. And with underneath so many exaggerated black plastic, that makes it look higher. I believe it will have a better pass. The opening angles of all four doors are relatively modest, not exaggerated in any way. All four windows are single pane, not double pane. The lower edge of the door does not cover the body. If it rains or snows, trousers may get dirty. I don't need pedal for this vehicle. As my height, there are three sizes of wheels in the Kona lineup, 17-inch for the lower trim and 18-inch for middle. This one as top has 19-inch wheels, and the style of the wheels is a bit exaggerated, and it seems similar to EV's style. Brake disc size on the 2WD, the front discs are 11, diameter ventilated discs, all other models. The front discs are all 12, diameter vented discs. The rear disc used on all models is a solid 11.2 disc. The design of the rear is relatively different, but also more colorful. There is a large angle of sliding back shape in back. There's a little chrome rear wing with a high-mounted brake light in the middle, but it's quite narrow. Still got the rear wipers, which is nice, having two aerodynamic kits each to the left and right, and a strip of taillights echoes the front lights. Well, the function on it is just a taillight function, nothing else. All the other functions are integrated into two separate lamps, one on the left and one on the right, which are also very oddly positioned. It's also on the most protruding part of rear side, which has turn signals, the brake lights, and the backup lights inside. What an important lamp, and it's put in the most vulnerable position, and it doesn't have a traditional bumper, which is not a problem now. The upper's designed more convex. The Hyundai and Kona chrome logos placed in the center, and the bumper and below, as we see, designed to echo the front side. The materials, colors, and styling of the Kona are very complex. The only version of the Kona has two exhaust pipes is Kona N-line. All other versions, including the top, have only one exhaust pipe on the right side with hidden design. This is the key. Same style with Hyundai EV. It doesn't have the physical key stick underneath it. Here is a separate stick. This one comes with power tail. It has an overall low front and high rear shape, but because the overall height is still not high, the trunk appears to be relatively short. The depth underneath the trunk looks very good. The depth of the upper part is less impressive because of the angular shape of the back. On the left side, there's a light, and that's the only light in the trunk. There's a hook in the front, also a hook here. There's 4 hooks down here and a storage here. There's a hook right here and a subwoofer here. There is no spare tire for 2WD Kona, but have for 4WD models, compact size tire. I don't know why. There's lining in the hole. With the second row folded, the seat backs and trunk are basically on the same plane, and there's a slight upward slope, but not much. This Kona also has the Hyundai's auto parking without getting in the car, and it operates in the same way as the rest of the family. Lock the car, remote start, move forward. It can't be far away from the key. Stop. The same goes for backward. Lock the car, remote start, reverse. Getting in, you can see the interior, and the center control design is somewhat similar to the exterior. It's trying to present a cuter, more fashionable look, more edgy. We can also see some universal parts and style of Hyundai family, and even a few from the EV. We have to believe that more of these styles would become the unified design of the Hyundai family brand in some time. The large screen has a curvature, and the screen, including the center control mechanism, is tilted to the driver's side, which is still good. Didn't go straight to the back. On the passenger side, there's a storage in front, while the design is a little more avant-garde, but we also see a lot of vintage-inspired buttons in front. If you think back to a decade or so ago, 20 years ago, these square buttons were still very popular. It's got a retro feel to it, which I really like, and it's got a great feedback feeling, and Hyundai, in such a fashion small car, and left so many physical buttons. Want us, the consumers, to have a clash of ice and fire? Only the front two have one-touch up-down windows, the rear don't. On the left side, left end of the screen. There isn't a utility. It's decorated with a fabric material, and I personally think it would look a lot more techy if you did something here. We can't ask too much for a small car at this price point, and there are buttons on the left side of the steering wheel. No head-up display on this car. With the center screen, which are also a universal part of the family, there are 2 modes of display. One is this simple mode. The other is a conventional mode, which select from the center screen. It is divided into 3 sections. The display mode and information can be adjusted by the buttons on the left of the steering wheel. The information displayed is modest, not too complicated or confusing. It also displays left blind spot when turn on left turn signal. Display right blind spot when turn on right side. The steering wheel is a 3-spoke model. We can see it's still inextricably linked to the parts of EV family, which is very thick, and the leather is fine. There's an exaggerated shape on its 3 and 9 o'clock. The buttons are all universal to the family, and in the back there's shift paddles, and the lamps have an automatic on-off function. Automatic high beam. The front wipers don't have automatic rain sensing. You can see its gear shift mechanism. It's the same with Hyundai EV, placed on the right side of the steering wheel in a very different manner, screwed forward for forward gear. Screw it back for reverse. When I get off this car and then get in my 330, it does take some getting used to. The automatic anti-glare mirrors. 3 garage switches. There's no eyeglass case. We've seen more of this screen as a product of the new era of the Hyundai family. Both clarity and responsiveness are pretty good, but now that Hyundai's got CarPlay for iPhones, Android phone connections all still need to be plugged in. Equipped with a Bose stereo, pretty good sound quality for a small car at this price, and it's got a lot of adjustable and interactive features for the price. In this trim, the car has a panoramic view, front view, and panoramic view, front side blind zones, front view alone, rear view and panorama, rear overhead, rear side blind zones, 3D exterior surround view. It's got a relatively high pixel count in every aspect of the image. The display is so clear, even beats out some of the higher ranks. Even some luxury brands. The upper part is to control the screen and the multimedia. Down here, mainly for the air conditioner, we can see that the designers have put some thought into these sockets, not outlet some holes here. This little hole on the left, it can be used for both charging and data interaction. You have to press down on this button to select, to switch, and there's a 12-volt, 180-watt charger socket, but it's got a very textured cover. Just press it and it opens. Here's a wireless cell phone charging pad, and underneath the wireless charging pad, there's some knobs. This car has several driving modes. One is normal, sport, snow mode. The cup holder, when you don't need to keep your cup, you can take it back. This expands the volume of the center storage, and when you need to put a glass here, you just push these two buttons. And then you have the cup holders, and that armrest in the center. It's just a storage, maybe. It's just the top, there's a cover, it's not completely closed. It's a nice form, but when you put a lot of stuff in it, or when you put a slippery thing in it, it's going to bang back and forth when you're driving, and it's going to make a lot of noise. At the same time, there's no privacy. Now that I've turned the seat down, you can see how the space is. I feel that the space is very good. And what it surprised me, it gives you a more neutral sitting position. Well, it's usually only found in cars that have enough vertical space inside, means this car is tall enough inside. Vertical space performance is pretty good. The seat, as you can see, has a very nice shape, and both backrest and seat cushion can give you a good support. It can also be felt as a moderately soft and slightly hard padding material, not the feeling of a large, soft sofa. One of the things I don't like about this seat is that it's not wide enough, which is understandable, because of the car size. It would be a little tight inside, which I understand. One of the nice things I just realized when shooting, it's very adjustable forward and backward. For a small car, it's got a lot of adjustability. This is adjusted to the backward. You can see where the seat is. This is a good news for those who have long legs and want to drive this small car. Seat adjustments for driver are power adjustable, and the lumbar support is also two-way adjustable. Its support has a very large bulge, which can give a good feeling. Being the top trim, there's no seat memory. The passenger side is manual adjustment. One of the nice things about the design is all the buttons and parts. Driving-related parts all have a driver-oriented design, including the screen and these buttons. They all keep within reach of the driver. As you can see, the center armrest box is not closed, but the cover is designed to be taller and longer when you're driving. Your elbow will rest comfortably on it, and that's a pretty nice. It shows the designer. He really listens, he really looks, he really feels. Therefore, the design of the armrest box is not just for the sake of design like other brands today. Thumb up to the designers for that. The material above the dashboard is a plastic-lined material with a twill pattern. Here's the screen. In the center, it's the trim, and underneath it's the hard plastic above the door panels. The center is leather, and the bottom is hard plastic, and there's a lot of hard plastic for the legs to touch, the elbows, the hands. It's a modest touch of hard plastic, but it's the same problem with the Hyundai family. When I adjust the seat and the steering wheel to a position that works for me, a position that I'm more comfortable in, I look at this and I see that I've got to be able to get to the right place. The dashboard will always be blocked by the steering wheel, which I know, not because of design, but the way I sit and my size. Sitting in the second row, as you can see, it has a raised theater effect. Second row's view is a little bit higher than the front, and you can feel that there's no problem with the space. The headroom makes a groove. Legroom, this seat sits back a bit. Still no problem with legroom, more spacious over there. The seats in the second row are also quite comfortable. Seat cushion is long enough and high enough to support legs. And the padding, it's a medium firm padding, a little softer than the front. You can feel that it's a big, thick sofa. It cannot be adjusted forward or backward. There's a very small adjustment in the backrest tilt. Straight as back, elevation angle max. It's a small sunroof in the top trim, and the curtain opens up here. It leaves 2 air vents, but AC can't be controlled separately. Underneath, there's a storage with 2 small charging ports. The central platform is still a bit high. There's no curtain. Hard plastic on top and underneath. Leather in the center. Look at the door frames from inside. We'll see the metal with no wrapping. Reading light right here. The center armrest is high enough. 2 cup holders here. Let's stick to the rule that when we talk about cars, we have to talk about them in the same class, in the same price range. All cross-class chatting about cars is hooliganism, frankly speaking. If the exterior of the car gives me the impression that it's really average, and I don't like this kind of flamboyant styling, but dynamically, it's no exaggeration to say that I'm responsible for saying, it's the most wonderful car I've ever driven in this class, in this price range. First of all, the power of this 1.6T engine to drive this body is no problem at all. The performance is still quite outstanding. The overall feeling is very smooth. All what I talk about is under normal mode. Although the acceleration is not as good until the turbo kicks in, it's more aggressive then. But the overall transmission, including the shifting of the gearbox, including the intervention of the turbo. Of course, when I say smooth, I don't mean that it doesn't have enough power, but when the turbo intervenes, the speed can be as fast as you want it to be. I'm still talking about in this price range, in this class. The suspension tuning was even more unexpected. I thought that for such a wild-looking car, Hyundai would have given it a sporty tuning. But the reality is nothing like that. The whole thing is just cozy. You can even feel the high quality and heaviness that is belong to this class. I don't mean that it's heavy, because it's different from the weight of an EV, which comes more from the tuning than the weight of the car. When a low speed rolls a ditch, a can, a pit, there's a moderate amount of road feel coming into the car, but it's definitely not an ass in a pothole kind of feeling. It's coming in with feeling, doesn't make you feel frantic. It won't make you drowsy with no sense of the road either. On highway, the overall stance seems very comfortable when going over a smooth rolling road at high speeds. The body will have a crossover level of comfort. It's not too tight, it's not too loose either, it's just right, which I am enjoying. It also surprises me, Hyundai, to be able to do this kind of tuning without technology on suspension, especially at this price point, is awesome. Brake feeling is also not a problem. The brake pedal is very tight, and the point of the brake is shallow, and the steering is very comfortable, and the low speed is relatively light. It's light, but it's also light with a texture, so it's stable at high speeds. Steady, and the kind of steady that comes with luxury. This car must be praised for its silence. We are accustomed to driving Japanese products of this class, and we take it for granted that it should be noisy at this price. But Hyundai has taught us a lesson in how quiet you can be at this price point. First of all, the best sound comes from the engine. At the naturally aspirated stage, the sound is basically inaudible, and then after the turbo kicks in, you feel it more on acceleration, on the gas pedal, and you feel the turbo kick in. It's a little louder than the naturally aspirated stage, but it's definitely not noisy, which I'm very surprised about. And then there's the tire noise, and although it's equipped with 4 Kumho tires, there's not a lot of tire noise at highway speeds, and then there's wind noise, which is relatively loud. The wind noise, it's a little bit louder, but it's acceptable. It's not that bad, let's just say. It's a combination of all of those things in one car. I had the illusion many times that I was driving an EV, and this is the second time I've EV feeling on a Hyundai gasoline product. Last time was the all-new Genesis Ninity. Instead of saying Hyundai is minimizing the difference between the inside and outside of the gasoline and EVs so that the consumer just choose a product solely on the basis of its powertrain. You might as well be saying that Hyundai is trying to make a name for itself as a gasoline at this price point for the cars in this price range. It doesn't have to be staccato or loud or cheap feeling. It can also be done silky smooth. It can be done premium, and I love that. And frankly, I applaud Hyundai for what they've done with this car. I haven't driven any of Kona's other trims, and at least I'm now taking responsibility for my conclusions about the dynamics experience in this 24 Limited trim. I'll report back when I've had a chance to experience others. If all Kona products have this kind of driving experience, I'm sure that if there's no brand bias in the market, and if there's no fancy work, I think the Kona can have better progress on selling according to driving experience alone. In summary, here's a video about the new-gen Hyundai Kona. In terms of exterior and interior design, this is a younger, more stylish car, similar to the current Hyundai family EVs. It also seems like Hyundai is trying to make the exterior and interior design less of a barrier for people to choose between an EV and gasoline. Let everyone just choose based on the powertrain. Gasoline can be designed to be stylish in terms of dynamic experience. A 1.6T engine should be more than enough to drive a vehicle of this size. It's got a lot of tightness, it's got a lot of comfort, and it's got a lot of power in this segment. Sleekly designed small SUVs. If you don't need a lot of space and you want a small SUV for transportation, I think this is kind of a wonderful car. Price-wise, I think an SUV of this size should have a price differential with the compact SUVs. If it's anything like this car, which has an MSRP of more than $35,000, I'd say it's better to get a compact SUV. After all, in the American automobile market, the big is the game. So buy what you like, don't control, don't be shy. Thank you for the video.